Welcome to the Beefy Pod, the official podcast of Beefy, the multi chain yield optimizer located on over 30 different blockchains, getting you some of the best yield in all of DeFi. I'm your host, Jorge, here with TBC, our marketing guru, and our lovely friend, Abdul from the Monad Foundation. Abdul, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. I love the energy.
Abdul is from Monad. For those of you that are not familiar with Monad, Monad is an upcoming project that just came on it or just got on its test net. Monad is a high performing Ethereum EVM compatible layer 1 blockchain that in theory is capable of doing more than 10,000 transactions per second or about 1 billion transactions per day. They have an amazing array of different innovations such as the Monad BFT, parallel execution, asynchronous execution, and their Monad DB. Abdul comes from an incredible team, big brained people over at Monad, and we are excited to pick his brain about Monad. And before we do that, Abdul, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about your background in the crypto space.
Yeah, happy to do that. I've been adjacent to crypto for almost 7, 8 years at this point, pretty much since like the 2016, 2017 era. Really dove headfirst into crypto after the DeFi summer of 2020. DeFi is something that I've really been interested in. And then over the past 4 years, I've been working full time in this space and on the DeFi side and working with a bunch of layer one projects and infrastructure projects. And most recently, I've been at Monad for the past almost 2 years, and currently I'm the head of DeFi at Monad.
That's awesome. I mean, DeFi was a big motivator for me as well. Actually, my time at Beefy kind of started off with kind of the craziness that happened on Phantom back in the day, and from there it just became like an obsession and a fascination. So I love to see you're coming from the same background in that sense. I wanted to ask you, so Monad is using the Ethereum virtual machine as its as the application programming language, and I wanted to ask you, so what was the thought process behind using the EVM?
Yeah, I think when you look at Monad and what we're trying to build here, one of the guiding philosophies behind the founding story of Monad was really that the co-founders of Monad saw that there was a lot of demand within the EVM. They saw a lot of developers, they saw a lot of TBL, a lot of activity. So the time period that you're referring to, 2021, was really when not only Ethereum mainnet was popping off, but you had all these other EVM identical chains like Phantom, etc., where you could deploy EVM applications, and they were all popping off, and they were all doing extremely well. And one of the things that became abundantly clear within that cycle was there simply wasn't enough performance within the EVM, and most of the new applications that were coming out that wanted to target performance and not be blocked by block congestions or things of that nature, they basically started looking at non-EVM solutions like Solana and then later Sui, Aptos, etc. So I think one of the opportunities that the founders of Monad saw was they saw that um, the the modifications that a lot of EVM chains were making were not meaningful, and there was an opportunity to rebuild the EVM client from scratch and fundamentally optimizing every piece of the stack to really make it performant and at least on par with the kind of performance that you see on non-EVM chains. So yeah, I think the existing level of battle tested code bases that you see within the EVM. Like the EVM has always been the home of most of the innovation in DeFi and other verticals, coupled with really high performance, like Solana like performance, is a really powerful combination that can spur the next generation of applications.
Yeah, I mean, it's still basically the love language of crypto, for sure. It's definitely like how English is used for so much business around the world. It seems like every new great application is mostly done on the EVM. Out of curiosity, I'm sure that this question comes up a lot, but I wanted to hear your take. There are so many layer twos, and Monad is coming on the scene as an L1. using the EVM. I want to ask you, what is your thought process behind being an L1 versus an L2?
Yeah, that's a question that a lot of people have asked, especially in the early days of Monad. Like, why are you choosing to build this as an L1 and not an L2? And this has been kind of addressed by Keone, our founder, who's really
Mhm.
considered a lot of different options when the initial ideation for Monad was going on, and eventually, like the reason why they wanted to build an L1 instead of an L2 is because with an L1 that is fully decentralized the way that Monad is and will continue to become more decentralized over time. It is a completely different trust environment versus an L2. So the difference between like a trustless environment and a trust minimized environment. And then apart from that, a lot of the performance enhancements that you get really depend on being able to control every piece of the stack. And as an L2, you still have dependencies with posting your state back to an L1, which can become blocker at times for how much you can scale. So I would say those would kind of be some of the core reasons.
I see. And I also you also mentioned decentralization as well. Um, I kind of enjoyed that when I was reading the white paper. That's like one of the first like bits, or not the white paper, I guess the documentation, whatever you want to call it. That's one of the first things that your team addresses from the beginning. I noticed that the hardware requirements to be a validator were actually way lower than what I was thinking. I mean, I think you have to have like 500 terabytes or something like that to run a Solana validator, but I believe it. If I'm looking here correctly, it says a 16 core CPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is what my tiny little computer here has, 2 terabytes SSD, 100 megabytes bandwidth. And at the same time, you're able to run so many transactions. I was wondering how were you guys able to make those type of achievements?
Yeah, those are the right requirements, and yeah, it's a pretty normal build that you can get for like somewhere between $1,500 to like $2,000, and it's all commodity hardware, and that has been kind of like the guiding philosophy behind rebuilding everything from scratch. So Monad has been
Mhm.
an engineering effort for almost 3 years at this point, and our team has rebuilt everything to squeeze as much performance out of hardware as you can. The shorter path would be to create software that requires a lot of hardware specs, but that kind of affects your ability to be decentralized over time because you're pricing out a lot of people that might not be able to run node validators. And in the case of Monad, there's really optimizations that have been made at three different levels. So the first and the most obvious one is the EVM client itself, which has been rebuilt from scratch in C++ and Rust. And then you go to the next level of consensus, and because you have like parallel execution and asynchronous execution happening at the client level, then that needs to go on at the consensus level as well. So that is something that's addressed with Monad BFT. And then eventually the bottleneck ends up becoming state access. And you need a database that is able to handle the same kind of throughput that is being handled at the execution and the consensus level. And in the case of Monad, the team actually built out a database as well called MonadDB, which is really what helps keep the performance requirements low. And it is something that really helps complete the cycle of reaching execution, consensus, and state access and achieving 10,000 TPS. So it's really a lot of fundamental changes that have been made to every piece of the stack to ensure that none of those layers end up becoming a bottleneck for the other one.
Right. I was actually going to ask you next. I know you kind of jumped ahead of me in going to Monad BFT, asynchronous execution, parallel execution. I think that still a lot of users, don't see the defining technologies of parallel execution yet. I mean, most people are so used to using Solana, at least for a while, on meme coin trading and such. I was wondering if you could dive deeper into what parallel execution means for an EVM user.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so first off, if anybody's used a chain like Solana, then they've already been a user of parallel execution.
Mhm.
As a user, it doesn't really feel a lot of the innovations that we've made are completely under the hood. So as a user, the way that you would interact with a blockchain like Monad would be similar to how you would interact with a blockchain like Ethereum. The difference is the performance benefits that you're getting out of it. It's lower latency, able to handle more throughput. And what parallel execution basically means is Monad has the ability to execute transactions in parallel as long as they're not affecting the same state on the blockchain. An example for that would be if there's four people that have four wallets on the blockchain, so person A, B, C, and D, and let's assume person A is sending a transfer to person B, and person C is sending a transfer to person D. Since all of these are independent states on the blockchain and do not affect each other, you can run these two transactions in parallel. And if you look at most of the non-EVM chains, they're already doing this, and it wasn't possible to do this within the EVM before, simply because of how the EVM client has been designed. But the way that Monad has re-engineered things from the ground up, we're going to be pursuing parallel execution. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense for the EVM to progress in this direction. And we're also hopeful that other EVM chains kind of follow our lead and continue accelerating their own performance with parallel execution as
Mhm. No, I think like that's a major challenge for a lot of the EVM chains right now. Is I think especially because of Solana in many ways that now there's this huge influx of people that are just using crypto and are not fully educated on it in that extent. And so their expectation is to see this heavy load, this system just run incredibly fast. So I find that really interesting. Something else I wanted to ask you that I thought was very interesting. So the project just went on to testnet. And even prior to that, the amount of followers on Twitter is like well over 500,000. Curious, how did you guys build such a huge following, without having like active applications to use and such? Like, what are you doing in your marketing team to be that successful?
well. I think shout out to the marketing and community team at Monad. I think we have some of the most cracked people in the entire space that are really building the marketing and growth engine for Monad. But yeah, beyond that, for anybody that's been following Monad for a while, has kind of been aware of the approach that we've taken towards marketing and community. And the reason why I mentioned both marketing and community is because I feel like they both reinforce each other. The better marketing you have, the more community members you'll get, and then the bigger your community gets, the more your overall marketing reach becomes. And I think one of the biggest differences between the way that Monad has approached community and marketing versus a lot of other projects in this space is um, our team has really been focused on kind of building a snowball effect and really taking it one step at a time instead of trying to jump ahead of everyone. So we've seen like other projects doing things like questing and a lot of things that are maybe good for boosting numbers in the short term and attracting people that might not be there for the long term. Versus at Monad, we've really been focused at elevating real connections between people, getting people informed on the technology that we're building and getting them excited about it. So yeah, I think the fact that we have such a huge community at this point, which is not just on Discord, but we've had like dozens of community events all across the world over the past year, and only continue to accelerate. So part of the reason for that is because a lot of people care about the kind of innovations that we're making within the EVM, and they're excited about it, and they're really looking forward to using the chain, the ecosystem, and everything that is going on within Monad. So yeah, it's been the community's been also been incredibly patient with us because we have been a work in progress for over 2 years, and we just launched our testnet, and the excitement is absolutely through the roof. And I think we saw like 338 million hits on our RPCs on day one, which literally like broke our faucets. Those are volumes that have never been experienced by the infrastructure providers ever before. And they literally told us like we've never seen this on any chain, on either on a testnet or a mainnet before. And yeah, we have been trying to get like some stability for a lot of those things. But yeah, there's a lot of demand from within the Monad community as well as people that were kind of on the sidelines. And now that testnet is live, like everybody's excited to try it out.
Very cool. And I will link below if you are watching this video and you're interested in learning more about the testnet. You will be able to click a link below and give it a shot, open a wallet, and take it for a whirl. So now that the testnet is running, I think something that I was looking at was that right now, and I understand it's on testnet, and I was curious, there's 57 validators right now based on what I'm looking at. Maybe I'm reading this incorrectly, but I wanted to ask you, is there a theoretical number for the amount of active validators, or can anybody spin up a validator and keep the network growing over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, that is correct. Currently, we have 57 validators that are globally distributed. And there's a really cool website that you can actually go and look at where every block is being produced. And it literally, it's a blank on the map that shows like it blanks in different areas of the world where you know like where the leader of the next
Yeah.
block is creating the block. And I think our validators are distributed across like 15 to 20 countries and like 30 to 40 cities. And
Mhm.
yeah, as of right now, our active set is 57, and the intent is to bring this number up to 100 plus by the time we go to mainnet. And then over time,
Mhm.
the intent is for this number to be in the hundreds and thousands as we continue scaling over time. And yeah, even at 57, we have more active validators on our testnet than there are for many other chains, many other L1
Right.
chains that are on their mainnet. And like typically on a Cosmos chain, you would see like somewhere between like 50 and 100 validators. But yes, we're definitely committed to increasing this number over time as much as we can and becoming as decentralized as we can. And also like not just ensuring that we have more validators, but also ensuring that those validators are globally distributed, and so that we don't have like some kind of co-location, because that could end
Mhm.
up being like a threat to the network.
Right, exactly. Like if they were all located in one country and something goes crazy, the next thing you know, it's like the entire chain becomes compromised. So it makes sense to have it distributed in that fashion. So just to clarify, so there's no theoretical cap of validators, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So as of right now, we are at 57, and then
Mhm.
the milestones for Monad are to keep increasing that validator set over time, without compromising on latency, throughput, and
Mhm.
and a bunch of other metrics. So we will continue increasing this, and the eventual goal is to bring this into hundreds or thousands.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And so say I'm a user, I'm on the test net. I've gone through the website and there's a litany of different applications, everything from games to AMMs. I believe I saw perpetuals as well. There's a lot to choose from. This one game that looks super interesting, Antares. So, I noticed that a lot of chains, like AVAX, for example, we interviewed them. They've put a lot of their energy into the gaming space. Has Monad sort of found a focus of its own, or is everything kind of open in the air? People are building, and what kind of explodes. Like, oh, how what is the direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think as of right now, we have 60, close to 60 applications that are live on the Monad testnet.
Hmm.
Just calling out that this is unprecedented. We haven't ever seen any testnet before with so much excitement from builders and having so many applications live in the first week. And we've seen applications like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Trader Joe, LFJ, Balancer. Like so many of these great applications are live on the testnet, and it's something that a lot of people have been playing around with. And when we look at like the ecosystem building direction for Monad, um, just calling out that Monad being able to process 10,000 transactions per second means it's a
Hmm.
thousand x more performant than Ethereum mainnet, right? And that is a lot
Right.
of block space. And right now, if you look at how much TPS Solana does, it's more TPS than Solana as well, right? And when you have so much block space, you can really just support any and every use case out there without the blocks getting congested. Which is why whenever we talk with ambitious builders and people that are building the kind of applications that you don't see live right now, we're talking across all different verticals, whether it's like high fidelity DeFi or gaming, AI, consumer. There's so many different use cases, even payments,
Mhm.
because people see Monad as an environment where if they've already been building like an EVM app and they're just concerned about its ability to scale on any different chain, or maybe thinking about building their own like chain specifically because there's no other chain that can support their use case. They really look at Monad and they're like, okay, cool, we don't have to worry about building a chain because this is a chain that can support all the block space that we would require. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, Monad is a general purpose layer one blockchain. We have
Mhm.
a really good ecosystem of DeFi projects, and beyond that, there's quite a few gaming projects. There's Fantasy Top that's live on our testnet. So a nice little NFT ecosystem is growing up as well. So there's a lot going on within the ecosystem. So I would say there's enough space for every vertical on Mana.
Very cool. So it'll be interesting to see what people end up using Monad for. Out of curiosity, we're in this kind of interesting era in the crypto space now. Like, um, not to be too political, but Gary Gensler's out. It seems like the timing for the launch is fantastic. It's very smooth, and also you see. I'd like to get your take on this, but now we've seen sort of like sort of a beginning of the fall of meme coins, and that seems to have been Solana's general purpose for a little while now, which is trading and gambling. So it's kind of interesting. The timing for the Monad launch of the testnet is almost like going to create a little bit of friction, right? You're going to have some people that are coming in like, hey, let me get a little taste of this. Let me see what these guys got. You know what I'm saying? So out of curiosity, um, we did see sort of the craziness of Libra, Trump coin, Melania coin. Um, what are your thoughts on the fall of these meme coins?
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a few different things that you asked. So I'll start with the first one. So yeah, I think with the changes that are going on with the SEC right now, and the general attitude in the US becoming favorable to crypto and DeFi is an extremely
Mhm,
positive development. We saw a number of major crypto companies sharing over the past few days that their cases are getting resolved with the SEC, and a win for one person in crypto is a win for everyone from a legal standpoint, because obviously that
mhm,
encourages more people to build in crypto, build in DeFi, and if they're based in the US, to continue doing that while being located in the US. So I think that's great, and we needed a positive environment, especially within the US, because it is the hub of innovation, and I only expect more and more builders and more new use cases and apps to come out. And then speaking more to kind of the meme coin era on Solana, and everything that's happened over the entirety of the past year, and then kind of culminating with the Trump and Melania meme coins, and then the Libra meme coin. I think one thing worth calling out is I think what Solana has achieved over the past year is absolutely phenomenal. And it's something that
mhm,
there's no EVM chain out there that has ever achieved something of that nature. And it's something worth praising how much volume they handled, how many new users
mhm,
got onboarded. Um, we can debate about whether the right way to onboard people is with meme coins, especially if it's like an extractive environment. But then at the same time, you have to praise the infrastructure that is powering all of that, and letting people
right.
interact with a fully on-chain and permissionless environment, and being able to play around, and all the applications on Solana that basically abstracted all the ugly parts of crypto and made it extremely simple for people to just come in and launch coins and trade them. But yeah, I think more recently we started seeing a lot of kind of parties extracting from the Solana meme coin community, which is again something that happens within cycles. There's bad actors that come in and do
Mhm,
things that are questionable. That doesn't really represent anything on Solana as infrastructure, or the Solana
mhm,
ecosystem. And I do think that what Solana, like the kind of place that Solana has built for itself over the past year, is something that will like a position that they will maintain going into the future. There's a lot of people that I know um, who know about Solana and they don't know what Ethereum is, right? And for a person
Yeah.
that has been in crypto for a while, it would be ridiculous to think that they would know what Solana is and not know what Ethereum is. But for so many
Mhm.
new retail users, they simply have no idea what Ethereum is just because their first point of contact was Solana. So I think Solana really grew the pie for the entire industry. And when you look at Monad, our infrastructure is kind of similar because we can also handle a lot of throughput, a lot of users, and we're attracting really good developers. So we hope to continue growing the space and scaling a lot.
Right. I kinda had the same thought process. I never participated in the meme coins personally. I'm just not that dedicated of a trader. I like to just buy things, not think about it, hold on to it, and pay attention to the price of Bitcoin is mostly, and the general news. Maybe that's not the best approach, but that's kind of what I do. But it is still quite a feat. I may not mess with meme coins personally, but it's insane the amount of volume that they were able to handle. Like it definitely set a standard. And you're right, there's a lot of people now that their first experience in crypto was or is Solana. So it's interesting to see the type of standard that Solana has created. I think now the expectations for many chains and projects are to try to abstract, make it as simple as possible for people to come in, and make it as fluid as possible, right?
Wait, wait, wait a
One of
second, wait
the
a second. Are you 2 done gushing about Solana? Okay. I hope Monad comes in and destroys that garbage chain forever, all right? And I'm not gonna gush over
TBC with his
I'm
hot
not gushing
takes.
over anything they've ever done. They shut off the network at, like, what, once a month at this point? They provided nothing. And if you're using Solana and it's your only experience in crypto and DeFi, you just go back to the bank. Go back to the bank or start doing your homework. You don't belong here. All right, hot take over.
Well, one of the things that I tweeted out a little while ago was I said meme coins is how we onboard a lot of people, but DeFi is how we keep them around. So the logical
Yeah.
progression that I see from here is a lot of people over the past year that have entered crypto through Solana, through meme coins, will eventually discover utility coins and DeFi, and that will really become the way that a lot of them stick around. And if you look at it, that's not too dissimilar from what happened in like late 2020 or early 2021 when a lot of people just came in because they saw like meme coins, like Dogecoin or SHIB, and a lot of these meme coins ended up capturing a lot of popular attention. But then eventually, when people came in, they're like, okay, there's more to crypto beyond just memes, and there's a lot of utility, and a lot of those people just ended up becoming power DeFi users. So I do see
Hmm.
a good spillover from meme coins coming into hardcore DeFi, like things like beefy finance as well.
This guy's a
Thank you, thank
professional.
you.
Th-
Flattery will get you
Abdul,
everywhere.
man, you are a professional. Damn. All the cliches, all the points, all the PC. You say it perfectly. I'm impressed. I am impressed. Jorge,
Yeah, yeah, me
we
too,
need to
me
take
too. I'm
lessons at this
motivated.
point.
I've been a
A
BE
hundred
for
percent.
for for long enough.
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, for me, not necessarily meme coins, but it's seeing the number go up so fast that draws you in, and then once you're drawn in, you try to understand what you're investing in. And that's when you learn about all the different machinations in crypto. So I mean, that's fantastic that you have such a positive outlook. I want to put you in like my phone with like little positive messages. That's what I need, especially right now.
Yeah, it
So,
doesn't cost anything to be positive, so let's all be positive.
I don't know.
yes.
I was positive on Ethereum for a while.
Yeah. I definitely hear
Sweet.
you. I've been holding Ethereum as my biggest holding for the past year. So yeah, it's been a bit painful.
I don't need stable coins. I have Ethereum, okay? And it has done me well for a very long time.
Yeah.
So speaking on Ethereum, I feel like I would be I would certainly be out of touch if we didn't at least opine a little bit on the Bybit hack, which appears to have been a social hack of some kind. Someone or some people were tricked, I guess, into opening the multi sig, and I believe the total is 70% over $1 billion. Now, the 14th largest holder of Ethereum is this North Korean hacking group. So, what are your guys' thoughts? I feel like there's just so much to there's I don't know where to begin.
I'm gonna let TBC
It's a
go
tough
first
day to be
because I
Vitalik.
feel like he has
Tough
a
day to be an
spicier
ETH
I
take.
holder.
mean, you know, well, it was only a couple years ago the Chinese did this to us, so why not North Korea? Listen, this is just another day in crypto, right? I suppose if you're reading the
Mhm.
headline and you've only heard of Solana before, you're probably freaking out, going, "What just happened?" Um, but I think if you've been in this, I mean, think about it. Think of how people have reacted over the last years to insane hacks, and it seems like this one happened, and we're a day into it, and now the only thing we get is a bunch of North Korean memes, and it seems like that's the end of the story. I mean, and now we got a huge debate happening here, which I guess we'll save if, to talk about in a little bit. But I, I don't know. I mean, is
No, no,
any
let's just
did
talk about it
anybody lose
now.
sleep over this? I mean, did you?
I mean, I'm a veteran of this stuff now. Like nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
I swear to God, everything hits me is like it's like at this point it's like I don't have
You're
any
dead
nerves
inside.
anymore. Like it's like getting punched in the face and not yeah, basically dead. It's yeah. So where do you think we go from here? There seems to be a lot of discussion about the next move from Ethereum. What do you think is going to happen, TBC? Let me give you the spotlight.
Well, there's conversation now, right? Happening. I suppose. I mean, I read it online. Um, where people are considering, well, some say rollback, but technically it'd be a fork if I'm not mistaken. Um, to before the incident, right? Or you don't. You let these guys have the tokens, and then you say, well, we're Ethereum, we're decentralized, and we're not going to be a totalitarian chain, right? This is what is supposed to happen, and we're going to stand by our values and let it be. So I don't know, Abdul, what do you do? You gonna roll it back? You gonna let the hackers win?
Yeah, I think it's always a tricky scenario when you have a big hack in a chain, and we've seen big hacks happen on chains before, and we've seen like how some of them have responded, like maybe a parallel that I could draw to like an ecosystem token being hacked in a pretty big size was maybe in 2022 when we saw the BNB beacon
Yep.
chain hack, and I think there was like 1 million BNB that was hacked, and the hacker deposited into a lending protocol and cashed out like somewhere between 100 to 200 million, bridged over to other chains, and yeah, in the case of BNB chain, they did not roll back, and they kind of socialized the loss through their burn program. I think in the case of Ethereum, the size of the hack is pretty big. If I'm not wrong, it's 400,000 Ethereum, and if you look at the total supply, it's actually 0.33% of the entire Ethereum supply out there. So it is a meaningful number. But then at the same time, I feel like it also depends on the kind of circumstances that allow you to do these kind of things. Like a lot of people are drawing parallels to like the DAO hack from 2016, and how Ethereum rolled back, or like another debate that's going on is like they're saying like, oh, it wasn't a rollback, it was like a stake transition. um, but
Hmm.
yeah, if you look at the scenario from the DAO hack when Ethereum was like a little over a year old, and they decided to basically take the Ethereum out of the hackers wallet and fork Ethereum and redistribute it to people. I think back then it was a really tough decision. I know a lot of people even back then opposed that decision, but I think what we see in Ethereum right now on the social layer is a direct outcome of the fork that happened in 2016, and
Mhm.
all the people that would have otherwise lost money. Those were all people that might not be in the Ethereum ecosystem anymore, and those people are some of the biggest voices within the Ethereum ecosystem, and they're champions. They've helped onboard so many users. They've built applications. But if you lost those thousands of people so early on, and had basically their funds sitting with a hacker, then maybe we couldn't say the same thing. However, if you look at the hack right now, in terms of the relative size, in terms of the ETH, it's much smaller than the DAO hack, A. And then B, the hack actually happened with one of the biggest centralized exchanges in the world that makes a lot of money. And they said that, hey, we have the money and we can make users whole. So the biggest reason that I would see for a hack prompting a rollback or a state transition or whatever off the chain could be where people have lost billions of dollars. Like, let's assume these were people's personal hot wallets that got hacked, and this was like 2 billion of people's personal savings that were on the line. Versus in this case, there is a third party in between, which is a centralized exchange that lost that money on their behalf, and that is saying that, hey, we can make people whole. So I think in this
Mhm.
scenario, it doesn't really prompt changing like um, an immutable ledger or changing Ethereum when you have a party that was responsible for the funds that lost it, and that is saying like, hey, we don't have any problem making people whole. Like the outcome that I see coming out of this is Bybit just buying back that Ethereum on the open market and funding people, which I think will be a really good outcome. And the way that Bybit has handled the entire
Yeah.
situation so far has also been extremely positive.
Abdul, that is
Yeah, I agree. That guy has balls going on
uh,
sorry. He's just going on camera and just directly addressing Bybit users, saying it how it is. I commend that. That's an incredibly brave thing to do, especially in this climate. I'm sorry.
well,
Go
I was
ahead,
I was just
TBC.
gonna say you're right. And Abdul, that was a professional answer, but it was the wrong answer. And I I am all for rolling this chain back. And not only do they have to roll it back, but they gotta roll it back to the day before I bought the top. And that's what
There
we
you
gotta
go.
do. We gotta correct all these types of mistakes that have happened over last year. Just roll it back before everything fell apart. Let's take let's take it back to when
Bring it
yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah,
proof of
yeah, yeah.
work.
Let's just go all the way back. Let's let's have a do-over, right? We saw how this future looks, and now we're gonna Marty McFly it, and we're gonna go back and not kiss our mother. So let's do that. Let's make ETH the
Definitely.
network that we all thought it could be, so that Jorge's bags and mine could pump the way they're supposed to.
Yeah,
No,
that's a good point.
no, and I think you really eloquently brought it out. And also, I mean, at this point, it can I mean, I feel like even if they tried to roll back the chain, that would be such a huge undertaking. I don't even know if that's possible at this point, especially now that it's a proof of stake. There's so many validators, no? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I think
I don't know if they could do that,
yeah, it's like
even if they
you
wanted to.
yeah, first you come to a conclusion on the social layer, which like the chances of that happening are like minimal, and then actually coordinating that on a decentralized network is also like a huge undertaking. So yeah, like the entire discourse around
Mhm.
this on Twitter is entirely theoretical, and just to get the juices flowing and making things spicy. But I don't think there's even a remote chance of anything of the sort ever happening.
Yeah, no, I'm on that same boat. I don't see it happening, even if there are parties that do want to
Right
see
here,
that
baby.
happen. I don't see it. except except TVC going on Twitter and commenting on all of Vitalik's posts.
Roll back the
Roll
chain
back the
already. Come on.
chain.
Do it.
So before I lose track, I kind of want to go back. I want to go
Roll it
back
back, Jorge.
to Monad. I'm rolling it back to Monad a little bit. Okay. So so now that you guys are on testnet, what are you guys kind of looking for the most? Out of curiosity, for you, what are some of the challenges that you're foreseeing during the testnet?
Yeah. I think as of right now, with Monad's infrastructure becoming public for the first time, and anybody being able to go out there and use Monad testnet, touch the RPCs in a way, and really transact on it. It's a lot of feedback that we're getting from people. There's a lot of people that are excited to use the network, and there's a lot of people that are also spamming the network, and all kinds of feedback that we're getting is good. For a chain that you've built from the ground up and really re-engineered everything, it is common for things to break in a sandbox environment, and that is really
Hmm.
what we're looking for people to break the chain as much as they can, and for us to continue getting that feedback, because those really are things that are necessary for us to get feedback on and finalize before we can go on mainnet. I'd say it isn't really a challenge, but more of what I'm looking forward to is people using the chain a lot, for them to put a lot of load on the chain, and for us to kind of mimic what a really high demand period on a mainnet could look like, and essentially front running any problems that happen on a mainnet in a testnet environment. And once we
Hmm.
improve on those things, and once the infrastructure is fully robust, then we know that we're ready for mainnet. So I really hope that a lot of people come in and do all sorts of crazy things on the testnet, um, that help provide us a lot of feedback for improvement.
Excellent. Man, you're just so good at these answers. If I knew any better, I'd say you were PR. Damn. All right.
None of this is rehearsed.
None of this. No, none of it. I didn't even send you questions. Nothing. All right. So now I want to ask you, Abdul, I think it's always like interesting. Like I've never had the opportunity to interview someone at this stage in a project. It's always like, oh, the project's already out there, or the chain is already out there, the things are already happening. But it's very interesting to see it from the ground up. For anyone that is getting into the space, what would you say is like the best skill that you can obtain to be ready to work at a chain or an app or a project at this at this level? What would you say
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a
from the
great
start? I
question.
mean.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a shortage of talent within crypto right now, and so it's a really interesting problem. If you talk to recruiters in the crypto space, there's a shortage of talent, but then at the same time, all the jobs that are open, there are people applying for it, but those people are also having a really hard time getting placed. And I know people that have stellar resumes from the Web2 environment that are simply not, getting jobs in the crypto space. And I think a lot of that boils down to crypto being something where you require a lot of like intricate context and understanding the culture of crypto to really be able to come
Mhm,
and contribute to it. Um, I do think over time there are teams that are becoming friendlier to people that are not crypto native, and trying to integrate them and bring them up to speed. But overall, I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give someone that is been working in an industry outside of crypto and is looking to get in, to be honest, I would just spend a lot of time on crypto Twitter, understanding the lore, understanding like all the shit posting, and all the discussions that go on, and kind of understanding um, how certain parts of the community and the industry come together. And I feel like having that knowledge is necessary for any non-engineering work that you do in the crypto space. So it really, like, even if you're doing marketing or BD or community, without an understanding of how crypto culture works or how on-chain products work, it's really hard to do those things. An example would be if you're a salesperson in Web2 and you're looking to do crypto BD, but you don't understand crypto products or you haven't used them before, and you try and do BD in crypto, you won't be able to do it effectively simply because your counterparty knows that you don't understand their product. So while you might be able to read a script and just say some of those things, but if you were to have a deeper conversation with them about their product, and like let's assume you're a BD at a layer one or a layer two chain, and if you don't understand their product, the founder of that product will never have confidence in you to be able to help them at a point because they know that you don't get their product. So I think it's really important to bring yourself up to speed with crypto, and I know that there's like really good programs out there as well that help do that for you. But there's nothing better than becoming a part of crypto Twitter, joining the dark side, and really just doom scrolling for weeks or months, and yeah, you're up to speed then.
Nice. No, I think that's a really good point. There's a lot of people that think they can just walk in and get a job, and it's not that simple. Uh, so, the next thing I wanted to ask you a tough question. So we know that you guys have made the decision to be an L1. What do you tell a user that has been using Base or Optimism or Arbitrum, and they're super used to their environment? They already have those RPCs on their MetaMask. What do you guys at Monad tell those users?
Yeah. So just to clarify that question, is that more from how do we get an L2 user to start using Monad, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear.
okay, yeah. So I think in terms of using Monad, one of the biggest advantages that we have, and why I think what our engineering team has achieved with Monad is so impressive, is we've made extremely big improvements to the EVM. I would say these are the biggest improvements made within the EVM space over the past 4 or 5 years. There's no other chain or team that has done them. But the most impressive part is all those innovations are made under the hood. And from a user perspective, the infrastructure, the wallets, everything is the same. So Monad is 100% EVM compatible. So if you're an L2 user, and let's assume either you use Rabi or you use MetaMask, you can literally use the same wallets when you're using Monad, but it's just that you're getting like 50x more throughput and 500 milliseconds block times, right? So I think the fact that Monad is able to maintain a lot of the existing EVM infra really gives the existing EVM users comfort. And it's just easier for them to not have to use like new wallets or something. Like an example would be if you're an EVM user and you're going to a non EVM chain, like even Solana, there's a really good chance that you can't use your existing wallet and you have to download a new wallet. You have to understand how to sign transactions or do those things. But with Monad, the best part is that you don't need to do that. If you're an EVM user, you can just use your MetaMask, add the Monad RPCs, and you're
Mhm,
on. But then just a quick shout out over here would also be that Phantom Wallet, the biggest wallet on Solana, also supports Monad. So while you can use Monad if you're a Rabi or a MetaMask user, but if you're a Solana user, you can also use Monad. So we're really just
mhm.
making sure that Monad is as accessible as possible to all the existing crypto users out there.
Right, I think you guys are integrated into Phantom as well. No? Am I wrong about that? Boom.
100%. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That's a big one right there. That's putting on the big boy pants right now. So, hey, Abdul, I just want to say, like, I love your energy. You're like one of my favorite people I've interviewed on the show. I remember meeting you at ETH Denver last year, and I was floored with your ability to speak on blockchain. We really appreciate you coming on the Beefy Pod. We're looking forward to seeing what Monad does, and maybe we'll have you here again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This was a really good conversation. I've been a fan of Beefy since 2020 and have been using the products as well, and really enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, would love to be on again at a
Oh,
later
you
point
will
when we
be
have more
after the
things.
rollback.
Yeah,
Fucking
Told you
goddamn
so.
it.
Told you.
Just won't let it go.
yeah. But
Alrighty, guys.
enjoy this
Well,
conversation, and thanks for having me on,
Thanks for
guys.
coming.
for sure. Thank you for coming. Cheers.